Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Daniel Boone is an American action-adventure television series that starred Fess Parker as Daniel Boone. It aired from September 24th of 1964 to May 7th of 1970 on NBC, with a total of 165 episodes. Other characters in the series were Rebecca Boone, playing Daniel's wife, and that was played by Patricia Blair. Jemima Boone, Boone's daughter, played by Veronica Cartwright. That was from seasons 1 to 2. Israel Boone, Boone's son, was played by Darby Hinton. And then there was Mingo, Boone's companion. That was played by Ed Ames from seasons 1 through 4. Now, if you were a kid growing up in the 60s, odds are that at some point you wanted a coonskin cap. The reason for this was Daniel Boone, or maybe even perhaps Davy Crockett. Either way, both characters were portrayed on screen by one towering individual, that being Fess Parker. This native Texan stood 6'5" and was the ideal actor to slip on that fringe suede jacket and play the folk hero frontiersman. The Walt Disney miniseries, Davy Crockett, originally airing from 1954 to 1955, made Parker a star. A decade later, he was holding a rifle once again, taking the lead role in Daniel Boone from 1964 to 1970. Fess Parker once again wore a coonskin cap, which had been made popular years earlier in the Crockett shows. Daniel Boone's headgear was even mentioned in the show's theme song. From the coonskin cap on the top of Old Dan, in contrast, Parker's Boone was less an explorer and more a family man than Parker's Crockett, and Crockett also wore a light beard, whereas Boone was predominantly clean-shaven. Boone's wife, Rebecca, played by Patricia Blair, and their son, Israel, played by Darby Hinton, were often featured in the stories of the series. In reality, Boone had 10 children. The series is set in the 1770s and the 1780s, just before, during, and after the American Revolution, and it mostly centered on fictional adventures in and about Boonesboro, Kentucky. Nearly all of the aspects of the show were less than historically faithful and were completely fictional, which at one point led the Kentucky legislature to condemn the inaccuracies of the show. It's said that Fess Parker originally wanted to continue the Davy Crockett series, but Walt Disney wouldn't give up the rights to it or sell them. He just didn't want him to do it. So Parker shifted his focus to another early American mountain man, and he kept the coonskin cap too. Now, every kid growing up in the 60s knew the exact words to the theme song that played in the series. From the coonskin cap on the top of Old Dan to the heel of his rawhide shoe, the rippinest, roaringest, fightingest man the frontier ever knew. What a great sing-along theme song this was. The song went through many significant changes. The earlier versions had a natural country feel, while later seasons featured a groovy, upbeat take sung by the Imperials, a Christian quartet from Georgia. They're a group that has 4 Grammys to its name. Now, Daniel Boone is responsible for one of the funniest things that ever happened on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I just covered this briefly in my video on The Tonight Show. Fess Parker's co-star Ed Ames was on The Tonight Show, and he had a lot of other talents other than just acting. He had an impressive pop music career, and he could also throw a mean axe. In the spring of 1965, when he went on The Tonight Show to show off his tomahawk throwing skills, the actor sunk the business end of the hatchet just below the most prized point of the cowboy silhouette. The quick-witted Johnny Carson responded, "I didn't even know you were Jewish." This clip became an immediate Carson classic. Fess Parker was almost a U.S. ambassador to Australia. His longtime friend, President Ronald Reagan, offered him the position in 1985. After he really thought about it and considered doing it, he decided to turn him down. In the late 1960s, Parker also optioned a swath of land in northern Kentucky, nearby the junction of Interstate 71 and 75. He hoped to open up an amusement park dubbed Frontier World. But soon after this idea came to light, the Kings Island Amusement Park was constructed over the border in Ohio, and financing for his venture, Frontier World, just completely dried up. When the show Daniel Boone was swept off the air in what is called the Rural Purge in 1970, Parker had a chance to immediately jump to another soon-to-be hit, but he passed on it. Dennis Weaver ended up taking the role instead of the Southwestern Marshal on loan to the New York Police Department. That show was McCloud, and it ran for 7 seasons, from 1970 to 77. Now, Fess Parker had skills behind the camera as well. He got his first shot at directing one of the episodes, and he loved doing it. He went on to direct 5 of the episodes himself. Now, after the 2nd season, Jemima Boone, Daniel's daughter, completely vanishes from the series. Everyone couldn't figure out why. That character was played by the great Veronica Cartwright, the sister of Lost in Space's Angela Cartwright. The talk at the water cooler was why she disappeared. It seems that there was some real behind-the-scenes bickering that was going on. The producers had hoped to introduce a love interest into her character, played by teen idol Fabian. Patricia Blair, who played matriarch Rebecca Boone, wasn't a fan of that idea, and she said she wasn't going to have any of that. She told the production that she goes or I go. It was that simple. The claws were out over this. The reason that Patricia Blair acted this way is she felt like that it aged her character too much. I think there probably is more to it than that. If you want a trip down memory lane that brings you back to your childhood, watch an episode of Daniel Boone. It'll bring a smile on your face. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.